Troops, good evening. Here we are. It's another Eagle podcast, and I've been joined by a local entrepreneur who's got a cracking business, who took a 110 Land Rover and turned it into a mobile beer van. Tom, how are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you.
Let's get straight into it, Tom. Where did you get hold of the vehicle from, and how long did it take you to convert it?
So we bought the vehicle off a chap down in Chesterfield. We'd been looking for one for quite a while to do something with. We wanted one which was reliable, but then old enough to be able to drill 5 holes into the side of it at the same time, because it's not going to be much use for anything else. So yeah, we got that, bought it in the May, and we converted it through the summer. First show we did was in the early September.
Cool. And on a boring insurance side, how do you, when you're insuring a vehicle like that, and you sort of say to an insurance company, yeah, well, I've got this 110 Land Rover, but what it is as well, it's a mobile brewery. Like, is it a bit of a tricky conversation to have, or is it fairly straightforward?
Well, yeah, it's not something that I've done before either, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I spoke to them, and obviously one of the big problems for us, or the problems that I thought was going to be, that our beer taps they're on the side of the Defender.
Oh, okay.
So you can obviously cover them up, but they're still there.
They're still visible, yeah.
Anyway, as long as it's within the constraints of the vehicle, so the less than the wing mirrors, it wasn't a problem. So actually insuring it wasn't as much of an issue as we thought it was going to be. But
where did the idea come from to take? Had you seen another 110 that had been set up to sort of do food or beverages, and you thought that's a great idea, and I think I'll do it, or was the idea just off your mind?
I've grown up with Land Rovers and specifically Defenders, and I'd seen a couple of Defenders which had put pizza ovens in the back of.
Mint, yeah.
Quite a few of those about, and really good ideas, and
yeah.
they draw a bit of a crowd, and obviously producing independent traders producing like really good pizza, like really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm quite into my craft beers, so
cool.
I came out of what I was doing before, the 9 to 5, and I thought I'm going to have to do something different here. And we just combined the two. I'd been thinking about it for a while, but actually doing it was something else. So
and sort of, it's a love of beer, and so you've combined a love of beer and a love of 110s together to create the perfect business. That's class. Where does the love of, without sort of the love of beer, how did you get the knowledge to make? Do you make your own beer, or do you bring it in from somewhere? Or
so yeah, we don't currently make our own beer.
Right.
We work closely with local breweries, mainly Three Brothers Brewery at Stockton.
Three Brothers, yeah.
And they're absolutely cracking lads, really good. And we work closely with them. They do us a few of our own beers specifically for us. We're actually in talks with them at the minute to do a few more this summer.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's come from them really. We haven't the dream is the brewery. But that's the big step, isn't it?
Yeah, that's sort of down the line. And Three Brothers, obviously keeping it local, keeping it sort of a family-run business. Is that important to you, to sort of keep it within the region of the Northeast and specifically Middlesbrough?
Yeah, massively. Keeping things local is that's what we're all about. That's our ethos.
Yeah, brilliant.
And the lads that people do business with people, and the lads at Three Brothers are absolutely cracking lads. We also, it's a good promotional tool when we're doing weddings and that sort of thing, to be able to say Three Brothers do a beer with honey from Osmotherley, and we're doing a wedding in Osmotherley, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just having a beer with a story and being passed through hands, if you like, actually means something, whereas anyone can produce beer on a mass scale in a workshop in
I know what you're saying, and obviously by keeping it all sort of North Yorkshire moors, sort of Cleveland Hills, Cleveland way,
Yep.
it builds like an identity, doesn't it, to the area. And then with what you're saying, you're doing sort of wedding fairs, etc. And there's a story, and people are like, oh, this is from our region, and the people get behind that. I know we have the opportunity with social media to be worldwide, but actually, I think we're coming back in on ourselves where people want a locally sourced a beer, and a lad like you from the area who's had a great idea and has changed it into this. And a great idea is one thing, but actually delivering on a great end product is another. And I suppose it helps sell. I mean, they've got quite a large network as well, have they? So do they promote you as well, and vice versa?
Yeah. Oh, and that's kind of what the small business is all about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of working together, promoting each other, collaborating, all that sort of thing.
100%.
Like what you were saying, keeping it local, definitely it's coming back around. Whereas before, everyone was trying to go international for no reason and kind of spreading themselves too thin. But yeah, definitely keeping it local and getting an identity is definitely something we're working towards.
And I noticed one thing, Tom, when you popped up on my newsfeed, straight away I was like, oh, this looks really cool. As in, your branding is really good. Like, it's really good. I think, because I follow the North Yorkshire Moor hashtag with what I do. Obviously, that's how you've sort of fallen into my timeline. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And then I sort of read the name a few times. And I was like, oh, and before like I saw an image, I thought, I know what this lad's done here. And then I saw it and I thought, wow, this is a great brand. How did you come up with tell us the story of the name? Was it always going to be that, or did it happen, someone just say organically, or?
So we went through all sorts of different things, kind of, you can obviously go through all your general beer, kind of jargon and all that sort of thing.
The beer bus.
Yeah, exactly. And we wanted something so it kept it towards a Land Rover and kept it towards a Defender. So your 110, your vehicle's 110 inches. That's what the chassis is.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to give it a bit of a nod towards that. So then people because lots of people who do hire us are Land Rover enthusiasts.
Yeah,
people
100%.
who like Land Rovers. So we wanted to put a nod to that. And then obviously your OneTenOnTaps, the kind of, it gives it away. But the branding, we did it all in-house.
Oh, wow. Fair play.
That's kind of it's a bit of a passion of mine, but I've never kind of done anything professionally, anything like that. But we did it all in-house and we worked towards it and kind of put it out to a few of our friends and family saying, what do you think of this? What do you think of the name? But yeah, it's all about building the brand, isn't it? And getting people behind it. And as you say, if you can kind of build the brand locally, that's the dream. So
yeah, I feel like people are trying to take over London before they've took over Stokesley. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's people, they're trying to, I want to be in London. Well, what about your own back garden? Are you the king and castle of that? Well, not really. But I'm trying to reach a lot of people in London. Well, it does take time, and sort of big success stories are obviously sort of Black Sheep Brewery, Theakston's. These big sort of not a million miles away from where we're talking about, but they're really big brands now, and they're still. When you go to sort of Masham, it still feels like they're very much a part of that community. And even though they're a big sort of entity, they haven't gone, yep, see you later, we're gone. Because they know this is where it was formed and this is where it was built. And I think sort of with what you've done there, that's good. What was your what were you in another life? What did you used to do?
I was a transport manager.
What, haulage company?
Haulage company, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Can you say who it was?
So it was a family company, business.
Yeah.
And then it moved on, and I was a transport manager for a company called Universal Tankers.
Wow. Right. And was that sort of was that dairy and feed or
no sewerage?
Oh, glamorous.
Yeah, very glamorous. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. And. Did your business, were you sort of doing that and doing this is sort of a crossover, or did you just one day you quit that and then you started this?
So we've got Yorkshire Vehicle Hire, which is we have Land Rover Defenders, which we hire out for weddings and self-drive.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of, I was running that whilst I was still working. Then I dropped down to part-time, doing like 3 days a week. And then it kind of just got to a stage where Yorkshire Vehicle Hire was that busy.
Mm,
And I had this OneTenOnTap baby in my head, which I was thinking about doing.
yeah.
And I just thought, the time's now. So whilst I converted it, I stayed on board. But then afterwards, I kind of decided I need to put all my energy and all my efforts and all my just everything into the new business. So that's what I did.
It becomes a monster, doesn't it? A new business. You have to wear so many caps. You know, head of marketing, head of research, head
Yeah.
of HR, head of social media. Is there anything that you've outsourced to anyone, or do you still take control of everything?
No, we haven't outsourced anything as of yet. My wife works with me, so she does a lot of the admin, does a lot of the accounts and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But like you say, you're wearing so many hats, and people kind of, when you try to build something and you try to build a business, lots of people kind of think, well, what you're actually doing through the week, and it's like, well, you've got your accounts,
Mm.
you've got your admin, you've got your quoting, all purchasing. There's so many different things you can be doing without actually seeing. You only see the tip of the iceberg, don't you?
Actually, turning up to the event, I suppose it is for me. I suppose it might be for you as well. That's actually the easy part, or the enjoyable part is actually the
Yeah.
day of it running and it all going well. Um, what where do you sort of what's the process for someone sort of booking you, and what sort of events do you get booked for, and is there any of them that's like been absolutely well out there where you thought, I didn't expect to be selling beer at an event like this?
So obviously with the wedding cards that we do
Yeah,
that kind of ties in nicely with us providing a bar for a wedding.
yeah,
So we do lots of weddings, other events. We do lots of Land Rover events
yeah,
because there's plenty of those about. We're going to a few in the summer, which will be quite good. Apart from that, our charity we try and support a charity each year, and this
cool,
year it's kidney research.
right,
And out of kind of we got in touch with them and said, you're going to be our charity of the year, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to promote you and do a few things and try and raise as much money as possible. And then at the same time, they said, we've got they're called bridge walks. So they do 3
yeah,
bridge walks: Glasgow, Newcastle and London.
right,
And they said they wanted us to be there to provide beer at the end of the walk, to kind of give people a bit
yeah,
of an
yeah,
atmosphere, a bit of
yeah,
village.
yeah.
So that's probably one which is out there, which we didn't think would be doing. But yeah, that'll be nice to do.
Yeah, no, that's a great bit of networking. And on promotion, how do you promote the business?
So as you'll know, like you said, you found us on social media.
Yeah,
Social media is massive for us, for both
yeah,
of our business. That's for OneTenOnTaps especially. We haven't done any paid promotion on anything. It's all just organic, if you like.
yeah,
A lot of it's networking, word of mouth. Like I said, people do business with people, and
100%.
the product's cracking. The beer's really good, but if people don't get on with people, and if you don't have a common interest, and if you can't work together, then you're not going to be very successful. So that's what we kind of pride ourselves on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Uh, I get that, and the fact that sort of you're willing to come on the podcast and talk about your brand, that's who knows who this is going to reach, who could be planning a wedding, or they could be planning a big event, and they're thinking, oh, we need a bit more sort of range of the sort of stalls that we want, and then all of a sudden, I believe in. I don't think luck is the word, because we get where we get because we put ourselves out there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you coming on this podcast, someone hears it and they get in touch with you and say, "Paul, I'm glad you've come on the scene." And before you know it, you've got this big event. And I always sort of say to people, just say yes all the time. As in, if someone says, "Do you want to come to this, or do you want to come to that, or do you want to speak on this?" then say yes, because a closed door offers you nothing. But an open door. Who knows? You know, not every door will lead to success, but we all know what you find with a shut door, and there's nothing there. So that being said, do you ever sort of take yourself to networking events, or sort of what is a networking event for a food and beverage company? Because I don't think I've ever seen a beer one at a networking event I've been to.
So the kind of whole networking event to me it's a fairly fundamental part of what we do, but the word networking I don't particularly like. It makes it too formal for me.
Yeah.
And it makes it that people are trying to make money out of people, which again that's not what the purpose is for me anyway. So it's as much about connecting with people in your industry. So whether it be three brothers and they're going to a beer festival, and you kind of get speaking to other breweries, other bar companies, that sort of thing. We go to quite a few network events. Like we're part of Welcome to Yorkshire, so they hold quite a lot of networking events. Again, it's all keeping it local within the county and that sort of thing. Yeah, and we've met so many people through the networking events that we've been to, which you wouldn't have met, and from different walks of life, different industries, and you think they might work in finance, but the brother's getting married next year and he loves Land Rovers, and it's kind of it's crazy how it comes about, really.
It's I don't suppose it's not funny, but Land Rover and 110 and that sort of military model, and it's been a workhorse of sort of, for a long time it was the British military, and obviously within the farming communities, agricultural communities, like the 110 is almost synonymous with the British countryside, and then obviously the British Army and that side had it. What do you think it is about that Land Rover brand and that sort of iconic shape that's stuck around so long as a brand?
Well, yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? Because obviously they've just stopped 4 years ago now, stopped making Defenders. I think the simplicity of it is one thing, which is why it's stood the test of time. If you look at the shape of it, it's as you would draw a 4x4 as a kid. We've got a little 2-year-old and he's absolutely obsessed with Land Rovers again, because he can spot them a mile off, literally. But the brand itself, the way they advertise, the story, the whole drawing in the sand, the picture of in 1948 in Anglesey, drawing his design. It's just got the whole story behind it, and it goes back so far. The whole history behind the whole brand, and especially the series and the Defenders, just makes it something people want to be a part of and will pay to be a part of.
I mean, I've seen through my time in the army. Obviously, we had the 110, we had the Land Rover Wolf. Very, very diverse vehicle, and to be fair to it, there wasn't much it couldn't withstand terrain wise. You know, if you they always had a good set of tires on them, and sort of the diff lock and the power within the engine. I mean, the only sort of downside, what I would say, was the sort of, because they were quite high off the ground, they weren't that hard to tip. Whether you could sort of get them, you could get them over. But again, because they were so simplistic inside, it almost feels like you couldn't break them, because they were just sort of, very easy to modify as well. And I've seen some unbelievable personal modifications where people have gone, the full hot, really, really kitted them out to be something really, really special.
Oh yeah, there's some big companies out there who modify them, and they've done it for a long time. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do now. They've run out of Defenders, but I think that's one of the attractions to people, that you can take a car and you can literally take it apart with a spanner, literally. And people like that. People like to be able to tinker and like to be able to modify it. You can't do that with modern cars.
No, they're too complex, aren't they? There's too many things to break.
Too many electrics. Yeah, exactly.
And that doesn't really work, does it? Sort of on a busy industrial, like an agricultural farm, all weathers, all seasons. You know, fancy electronics and mud and water don't really do the dance to the.
No, absolutely not. And that's it. At the end of the day, it is, and people have people who, because they're a little bit Marmite. People either love them or they hate them, and people who hate them like to come and tell me they don't like them, which is fine.
Great story.
Yeah,
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, do you want a beer?
Yeah.
But I think the glorified tractors, and that's what people come and tell you, and it's like, well, that's fine, and if that's how you see them, that's how you see them. But lots of people kind of see them in different ways, don't they?
Yeah, I always remember sort of back at my military days down in Catterick, driving around the driver train area and going up some absolutely ridiculous gradients in them, and you know, holding it on the clutch on a massive gradient, and then having enough wally in it to pull it over the bank, and thinking, God, it's some piece of kit this, and
definitely.
You know, all you would ever need to pull a Land Rover out of a bog is another Land Rover. Do you know what I mean? Like that was, I think that's why the British Army had so many, and I do wonder when they moved away to sort of the new sort of style vehicles, did it lose a bit of iconic? But there must have been a lot put into circulation, because I know the military just sold off literally all of those Land Rovers. Were just like send a lot to auction and all the parts. So I think you might have a few to get through eventually, but I can't see. I remember sort of, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these ones, but they made an armoured Land Rover called a Snatch, which basically the top cabin, they put armour on it. So they put bulletproof armour, and they put sort of double thick windows and sort of a cage over it. And that was, but they didn't do nothing to the suspension. So they made it extra heavy on top. So you could like literally roll it about 10 miles an hour if you went around the corner too fast, which is...
it's like the one in Spectre, isn't it? Like, I mean, James Bond and Dave. You see those flying around, and people have kind of tried to recreate what they're doing, and if you actually, there's so many books about Defenders and Land Rovers flying about, and the history behind them is incredible when you start to really look into it.
Yeah. If you want to know about building a brand, then Land Rover is probably a good place to start. So on your conversion of yours, how did you? Is your Land Rover you've got now, is that how you saw it when you first started modding it, or did you have to start to change it with problems that always arise?
I mean, obviously, like you say, problems arise as you go. And I've never done that, but I've never done this before. And so when I told my dad this was my plan, I said, I'm going to put beer taps on the side of it, and he kind of looked at me, and he's normally somebody who's like, if I give him a business idea, he's like, kind of gives you a bit of a positive feedback, but constructive. And he looked at me and kind of just thought, and I could tell he just didn't get it at all. So, and I drew him out a few pictures, and I still wasn't on board.
Wasn't on brand.
No, we got kind of part way through, and then it just clicked. You know, when you start, well, it was probably when the beer taps actually went on. So how it looks now, I mean, I'd pictured a color wise, so we got it sprayed black. And then my wife kind of said, is it a bit too masculine? Is it because you've got your beer taps? Are you going to, for weddings and that sort of thing? And I said, right, okay, well, what can we do? And so we decided we've got some hops, which kind of run down.
Nice.
Some stickering on it. And the kind of, again, it all nods into what we do. Because funnily enough, although it is a Defender with beer taps on the side, and people come up to us, and they won't see the beer taps. They'll just look at the Land Rover, and I don't know why, whether they look past it or what, but they say, can I get a beer? And I don't know if they think you're just going to go and open the boot and get it out, but you then start pouring it out the side of the Land Rover, and that's where the shock factor comes in, or the wow factor.
Yeah, and was that always the idea to have the beer taps on the side, or did that sort of change when the plans changed?
Yeah, so I've seen a couple of different Land Rover bars where you can kind of open them up. Now, to me, that could be any vehicle then. You could have anything which can open up. What I wanted to do, I didn't want to change the shape of the Land Rover at all. I didn't want to put a door on it so it opened up and you had all your beer in there. I wanted it so you pulled up and literally you were ready to serve. I mean, obviously we need an hour for the cooler to kick in, but apart from that, you're ready to serve beer.
That's amazing.
And that's what the aim was, and that's that's what we've achieved anyway.
So, how many beers have you got stocked on? Say you go to Stokesley Shore. Do you go to Stokesley Shore?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to
That was
Stokesley
all
Shore, yeah. Oh wow. What? How many beers have you got on, and how many pints can you serve? What wipes you out completely?
So there's 5 beer taps,
Mm-hmm.
so we can have 5 different beers on.
Yeah.
In terms of something like Stokesy Shore, which is really local to us,
Yeah.
we can just take as much beer as we want. So I mean,
Wow.
obviously the key thing is you don't run out, isn't it? At an event like that, or any event anyway. So you always over egg it, but so you've got 5 taps, and they can all do 88 pints each, and that's just 1 keg each. So
wow, right, 88 pints, and something like Stokesy Shore, you must be able to blast through a few of them. 88 pints. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, this year gone, it was absolutely boiling. So people were obviously having a great time.
Yeah.
And again, something like that, we were opposite Sam Turner's. And one of the girls who worked at Sam Turner's, at the end of the day, we were just packing up, and she came over and she had a beer with us, and she was getting married in North Yorkshire Moors.
Yeah.
And she said, "This is absolutely perfect," and that's where that came from. And we booked their wedding in August this year, so on Yorkshire Day, which is ideal, really.
Can't you know? It's that sort of law of attraction, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You're there pushing out a really great brand and a great business, and then someone looks over and goes, "Oh, what's that over there? Who's that over there? I'm going to go over."
Yeah.
And then they're excited to have you a part of their day because you bring this whole unique thing where people are going to say, "Oh, you know, Kelly and Mark's wedding. Did you go to the beer guy? Oh yeah, the LandRover. It was class. I had 5 pints of this and I'm. Do you follow him on Instagram? It sort of builds it, doesn't it? And it's all this sort of flooding out into the community, and everyone sort of knowing you and talking about you. And it's funny you mentioned Instagram. Instagram is great for what you do. I think if you can go live, you can do all sorts with the Instagram stories. You can really promote your brand and build a good following quickly, and sort of get people sort of tagging you in and sharing. Social media though, how have you found it? Obviously, without guessing your age, I think me and you aren't too dissimilar in age-wise. I had to sort of go and learn it a little bit. So have you sort of gone any courses, or you just picked it up as you've gone along?
A bit of both, really. Kind of, obviously, I was going to say Instagram's the new kid on the block, but it's probably not anymore, is it? It's probably
No, it's just crazy. Well, I'll quickly tell you, it's this crazy thing called TikTok. And
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is though.
it's a crazy platform. However, because it's new, it allows unbelievable organic reach, like you just can't get on Instagram or Facebook because it is new. Right. It's letting you just get seen by 50, 60, 70,000 people for a 9-second video, just like that.
Yeah.
So it's a video editing app, really. That's what it is, with a social aspect attached to it. But it's so creative. I mean, you could make a brilliant video, and it would be seen by like 100,000 people.
Right.
It's mental, but yeah, go on. Sorry, Instagram.
Yeah. So I mean, personally, on a personal level, like social media, I'm not the biggest fan, and I don't tend to use it myself. But it's something that you can't not use for a business. It's one of those platforms which is just massive. Lots of it we do through Welcome to Yorkshire, to be honest with you. We go to quite a few marketing and tourism talks where they'll get a company in and they'll tell you about all the new things happening, which it's just an absolute minefield. I mean, even the guys who are working it day to day, they say the amount it changes is just ridiculous. So I think one thing for me is you stick on your brand, and you've just got to kind of go with what you believe in, rather than trying to do something, take a picture to try and get likes and all that sort of thing. if you get one like and one booking, that's cracking. If you get 100 likes and no bookings, it doesn't mean anything, does it?
People have got lost. People have got lost on it, Tom. People believe that success is likes and follows, and it isn't. It's about people believing what you're doing and coming out or coming to or booking or whatever it is that you do, and that is the success. I mean, there's people buying followers and buying likes, and I just think it doesn't pay the bills. Now, have you heard of social media influencers before? Have you heard that term? So there's sort of influencers at every sort of level, and sort of I've sort of used them to sort of see what happens. And there's a few times where you think, there's people sort of coming to you saying, it's 250 quid for me to wear your t-shirt, and I'll tag you in the post, and I'll write a post about you. And it's like a whole brand new business has been created online with this whole 100%. Social media thing, and there's people making a killing. And if you could get someone, someone local to you, well, Alan Hinks is from North Allerton. He's a top mountaineer, and he loves a beer. Do you know what I mean? So if you was to say to him, Alan, do you want to come along for a beer? Blah blah blah. Probably do you a world of good, because everyone knows that he loves a beer. But if you got someone who hates beer to promote your brand, they'd be like, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? So you've still got to have that level of sort of authenticity. Yeah, exactly. You've got to have a link. He's from North Yorkshire. He likes a beer. You're from North Yorkshire. You've got a beer truck. It makes sense. But it's when people see things like, people just go and get like, I'll just go and get women in bikinis to stand next to this. And it's like, well, what's barring sort of looking wise, what's that relevant to a brand? Like, I think you've got to be more sort of savvy now with it. What sort of events have you got coming up? Have you got anything? Is this a sort of quiet time for you? Sort of like winter, Christmas, coming into March time.
So kind of before Christmas, you do all the Christmas markets, and
brilliant.
All the local Christmas fairs and that sort of thing. So that's not a quiet time. But yeah, obviously January, nobody's wanting to drink in January, and then you kind of we kick on from end of March really. So and then that can now go through right to Christmas. So it's a long enough sector. But so we've got your country shows, your agricultural shows. We've just been signed up for, it's at Newby Hall this year. I think it's called Tractor Fest, which I haven't been myself, but
class.
It's totally the country people who will be going there. It will just be totally on brand for what we're trying to do and who we're trying to attract and what we're wanting to sell beer to. So yeah, we've got some good events coming up. As I say, lots of weddings and food festivals. Where at the minute, your time at the minute, these couple of months, it's getting everything booked in, everything sorted out. And yeah, we've got a couple which we're going down country for. We've got a couple which we're teaming up with Land Rover Monthly to go on a couple of their stands at a big Land Rover show. So yeah, it's exciting.
I was just going to ask you, have you got a range where you think, I'm not going past York, or I'm not going sort of north of Newcastle, or if it's worth it, you'll go?
Well, if it's worth it, we'll go. I'd go anywhere and kind of just I'll travel down through the week or whatever. But if my wife kind of gets hold of it and finds out, she'll say, just screw your head on and have a think about it.
Yeah. Do you have to sort of say something? I don't know. Say there's a show in Cornwall, example. Would you have to sort of sit there and go, how many pints am I going to have to sell to make this worth going?
Well, yeah, we do that. Obviously, kind of, we do all the figures and we make sure that it pays. But someone asked us to go and do a wedding down there, actually. And I was thinking, you could tie it in with a couple of days down there. And I spoke to my missus, and she kind of just said, get a grip of yourself. So we backheeled that one. But it's all just a learning curve, isn't it? It's all a learning curve. You do things, and it's either going to go well, or you'll say, I'm not going to do that again.
I think with what we've got round here, Yorkshire Dales, Yorkshire Moors, Weardale, Teesdale, there's probably enough there to keep you, really, really busy. And I suppose if
Oh,
someone
of
said,
course, yeah.
if someone who was absolutely minted said to you, look, Tom, I want you at this do, and here's 20 grand,
Yeah,
then you're not going to go, no, sorry, mate. It's
yeah.
an
We
hour and a
don't
half
leave.
past. Yeah, we don't
Exactly. Yeah.
leave. If it's financially advisable for you, then you're going to do it. And I think I've not seen another vehicle like yours. Like I've seen a converted ambulance. I've seen loads of sort of T5s, that
Yeah,
sort of camper variant, coffee shop variant, ice cream,
yeah,
etc.
yeah.
But I've not seen a Land Rover. And sort of even beer, I've definitely not seen anything beer wise. And I wonder, as Oktoberfest becomes a bit of a sort of sensation in the UK, and it's definitely starting to pick up that as an idea, Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
I think you'll get more and more called to sort of go to these Oktoberfest meetings that we're starting to have now.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, until I kind of came into the market, I didn't realize how big the craft beer um, industry was, and it
It's
is. It's
huge.
huge. Um, there's there's lots of gin horse boxes and gin wagons, and to
Well,
me, that market's been flooded,
yeah,
and
100%.
it's on the way down, in my personal opinion. Um, but craft beer, I think it's got a lot to give. People are always going to drink beer,
Mm,
and I think the market is growing massively. And if you can tie that in with something, with having a
mm.
cool looking bar, like having a Defender which pours
Yeah,
beer out of,
absolutely.
it's hopefully it's going to be a winner.
Steel, is it Steel Gin from Borough? Have you seen them?
Yeah,
That,
definitely.
that's a great brand.
Yeah,
They're onto something, but I know what you're saying. So the sort of spirits game is sort of 1 minute it's rum, spiced rum, then it's whiskey, then vodka makes a bit of a comeback, and then gins. Then everyone's opening a gin bar, and then it's
yeah,
like, oh, I'm on the craft beer now. Do you know what I mean? Like it
yeah,
definitely moves in a cycle. Um, I remember cider. Like at one point, everyone was drinking Bulmers, weren't there, and
yeah.
Copperberg, and
There was a couple of summers of that. Yeah, I remember.
where just everyone was on Boomers and Magners, and that was it. It was like, where's this come from? Cider made
Yeah,
this big, massive push on again, and you're right. It's just trend, isn't it?
of course it is.
And I think people there'll always be people with money. People will always have money, and people always will always spend it where they want to spend it. But I think now more so, they want an experience. Do you know what I mean? Like, and getting a beer from you and your stand, because someone will just come up and go, oh, can I get a pint of whatever? And then they'll say
Yeah,
to you, oh, so how long have you had this? Because there's a story behind it, and then
yeah,
they'll tell their mates. And I mean, I personally don't drink anymore, knocks on the head for personal reasons, but sort of when I did, I couldn't really, if you said to me, name a beer, I'd be like, Budweiser? It's Budweiser. Like, do you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, that's like a very generic, mass
yeah,
produced, no story behind it. Well, there is a story, right? But you know what I mean? Not anymore. It's long gone from its
yeah,
traditional roots. Um,
yeah.
but people will be, do you get down to sort of York races as well? Have you gone down there yet?
We haven't been down to York races, no, but again, it's one of those things where there's that amount of doors opening at the minute. We're just kind of going to be
Um,
all over.
I
But
tell you what, Tom, York races would be a great one for you, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
That'd be huge.
yeah,
That would be something else. I mean, that is really popular. York itself just seems to be sort of booming, doesn't it? I was there on Friday. It's always got
yeah.
all sorts going on. It's a great place.
Oh, the food, well, I'm not classing it as the food capital of the north now, because
Wow, statement.
you've got so many
Different
restaurants,
vendors. Mm.
yeah, popping up, and it's York's cracking city.
Yeah, it's a great place. Tom, we're going through this really, really well, mate. So we're going to move on to the 5 whats. So the
Okay.
first one, what's the greatest piece of advice you've been given?
Um, Greatest piece of advice would be take risks.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Don't yeah. So take risks and make a decision. Whether that decision end up being right, wrong, but you've actually the important part of it is you've made the decision. and
Yeah.
you will. If it's a wrong decision, you'll learn from it, and if it's a right decision, then you move forward. And
Brilliant.
that's a massive one for me, because I've worked with people, and I know people who just kind of dither and don't make a decision, and you could have made the wrong decision, moved on, and then. Obviously, I understand that there's certain decisions which you need to take time and all the rest of it, but some of them you just need to say, this is what we're going to do, and do it rightly or wrongly. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what I'd say.
That's a fair one. Second, what's on your bucket list? Ascot.
Well, yeah, well, so, I mean, business-wise, yeah, I mean, we do like doing the weddings, to be fair, because you're part of someone's special day.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, if you go into your agricultural shows and all that sort of thing, they're cracking, because you meet so many different people. Bucket list, personally, is I want to visit New Zealand, so that's on my bucket list to do.
Wow. Yeah, beautiful. Hey, you could franchise, mate. You never know. You never know what's going to go in a few years' time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, yeah. I mean, like you say, there's a company out there who hire out defenders for self-drive, and the amount of pictures that were flying around on Instagram with their defenders are absolutely awesome. So.
That's a fair one. This is always a sort of interesting one. The third, what's been your toughest day, either as an individual or as a business?
Yeah, that is a tough one, isn't it? So I'd say the toughest day that I've had is when my father got taken very ill, and I was I'd just left university, and I got thrown into the deep end of, right, you're gonna have to run this business while he's not here, and it was a bit of an eye-opening, thrown into the fire situation. But it was a tough day. It was a tough day for all sorts of reasons, but it kind of gave me a bit of an eye-opening.
What business, Tom? Was it the farm business? What? Sorry, was it a farm?
It was a tank. No, it was a tankering business.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago. So that was like, 17, 18. And it was just kind of like, right, okay, let's crack on then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fair play, mate. Testament to you. It would have. I always believe in this. It may feel like a bad experience at the time, but afterwards, it's always for the better, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I'm a great believer in everything happens for a reason, and that definitely did happen for a reason. And it kind of it makes you grow into who you are, don't you, from those experiences. So yeah, definitely very tough day, but you can kind of look back at it and say, right, that happened, and we've
got on with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair play to you. Number 4, what's been your happiest day?
Oh, well, my wife will kill me, won't she?
Yeah, no. Sorry. I have to rephrase this, because obviously, if someone's married, I feel like they have to say. But apart from your wedding, what was your happiest day?
Well,
business wise,
and my son being born. Yeah.
Oh,
business wise, happiest day. I think the happiest day I had. Now you don't realise at the time, but looking back, is when we sold our family business, the tanker business last time, because it'd taken so much out of our family personally.
Yeah.
Which it was kind of just the right time, and we're now 4 years on from that, and it was the right move. And it's a decision. You don't know at the time whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's so far, it's definitely one that we've made the right decision. So
fair play to you.
That's what I'd say looking back.
Fair play to you. The road haulage industry. My dad used to drive for a big company sort of in the northeast, and I don't think people understand how hard of an industry that is, and how sort of scrutinised it is by agencies, and one mistake and there's big implications, isn't there, for people involved in it.
Tough industry, definitely. It's a tough industry to kind of be a part of, tough industry to be working in. And there's all sorts of stresses, and it's a very male orientated industry, and there's local businessmen that I'm sure you know who unfortunately have taken their own lives over such stresses from the haulage industry. So it's definitely something that in the future I'll look at kind of revisiting in terms of raising awareness for that side of it, because the mental health side of it is something which is massive. And it's a massive part to me as well. So
I think, and I don't want to make this about haulage industry, but I think it needs a massive change. It needs a massive change of idea, not just from within inside, but governmental, like the way people think about the haulage industry, the way people view sort of truck drivers and etc. Because it's an incredibly lonely and demanding, not phically, depending on a sort of, but mentally it is a very demanding for all people involved. It's and at the end of the day, if everything that we've got, it's come off a lorry at some point, hasn't it? So somewhere on its journey, it's been on the back of a truck, and I don't think people understand the sacrifices, that people make in that industry.
Agree. Yeah.
If the drivers are doing it 60 hours a week, then the people behind that are doing 80 hours. It's brutal. It's a brutal life. Last one, mate, for you and your business. What's next?
What's next? So the dream is to have a fleet of Land Rover 110s. Yeah, that's the dream. But I think short term, we're kind of concentrating on building the brand, keeping on point of what we're doing. North Yorkshire Moors.
Yeah, brilliant.
We're speaking with people at the minute. Hopefully, going to do something with the Tour de Yorkshire.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be in Redcar as well, which is local to us, and Leyburn. There's lots of places, and it's again we live in such a beautiful part of the UK.
Yeah, 100%.
It needs to be catapulted to the world, really, because it's a bit of an untouched gem. Even though lots of people visit, I think there's still lots of people who don't. So
I sort of my home for my hiking business is the North Yorkshire Moors. Now I run events all around the UK, the lakes, Snowdonia, Scotland, etc. But I always say to people, the North Yorkshire Moors, it has its own beauty. We've got our own sort of absolutely stunning places. In fact, the whole place is just littered with history. I'm the same as you. Whatever opportunity I can get to promote North Yorkshire, I'm literally all over it, like all of the time. And I don't want to get political, but with Brexit now, it is down for small businesses to showcase the very best of Britain. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We have got a direction of travel. We're traveling that way. And what I'm thinking is you've got to highlight Britain and say, look, this is what we're all about going forward on a global stage. This is what we're all about. This is why you should come to the North Yorkshire Moors. This is why you should come to Britain, because of Whitby, Scarborough, Robin Hood's Bay, Osmothersley, all these great places. They've all got their own beauty. And I'm all for it. Brilliant. Tom, look, we've absolutely gone through that, and I thank you very much for your time. Where can people find you, and how do people book you?
So, Instagram and Facebook's probably easiest. OneTenOnTap, it's spelled out 110 rather than the numbers. So, and then Yorkshire Vehicle Hire as well. So you can find us on either of those. And if we've got websites, and if you check us out, and you can see what we're all about.
Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been Tom from OneTenOnTap. If you've got an event coming up and you need something that's a little bit different and you want to add a little bit of the wow factor, then I suggest you check them out on Instagram, get him booked, and have amazing craft beers at your special occasion. Coming up next, a good friend of mine. He's the official coffee sponsor of Robust Tours, a veteran brand which is making absolute headway. Green Beret Coffee Company. I've just got some on the post. It's absolutely 10 out of 10. No more dog shit Costa for me. I am on the good stuff. Moving forward, small business. Tom, thanks very much for your time, mate. And I'll have this podcast out ASAP.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot.